Hi guys, today we are going to dive into something very interesting, very demure. Anyways, today we are going to dive in on how to create a responsive grid system in Figma. This is very essential for modern web and UI design. So if you are creating a website or a mobile application or even a dashboard, stick around because I'm going to walk you through on how to create a responsive grid system in Figma. If you're lost and you don't know what a grid system is, do well to check this video right here where we dealt with some basics and terminologies in grid system and how to apply them to your design. The very first step to make a responsive grid in your design is to make 3 designs case study. What I mean is that we are going to be creating a responsive grid system for a desktop, a tablet and also a mobile application. Let's start with setting up a responsive grid system using our desktop size. So everybody hit F on your keyboard and bring out any size of desktop that you want. I'll be going with MacBook Pro 14. Let me just bring out all the case studies we are going to be using in this tutorial. So hit F on your keyboard, select a tablet. I'll be going with this iPad mini here. And let's go for the last one, which is a mobile. Hit F on your keyboard again. And I'll be going with the iPhone 14, 15 Pro Max, which is kind of the latest in the market. So I'll be going with this and that is it. Let's start with this first. So you select your design. Sorry, I meant frame. It's not really a design now. It's actually a plain frame. To select your grid, go to your right hand side. Then you say layout grid there. You click the plus. It's going to bring out something like this. We'll be going with columns right here. The reason why I'm using column, or the reason why so many designers use columns out there, is to maintain a consistent grid system in their design. You click the layout grid setting just right here. We'll be using a 12 grid system for the MacBook, that is for the desktop, an 8 grid system for the iPad, and a 4 grid system for the mobile application. Moving to the count is simply the count of the columns that we have here. So since we are using a 12 grid system, we are going to write in 12 just right there and press your enter key just like that. You see that the columns here, if you calculate it, because we don't have that much time, if you calculate the columns here, you see that they are up to 12. Moving down here, make sure this place is set to stretch. Here auto is automatically set to auto. Then the margins right here, we are going to be going with a margin of 70. So don't go below 40 when we are setting out a margin for a desktop size. I know somebody is asking, what is gutters like? What is gutters? So gutters is simply like the spaces in between these columns. So the spaces that we have here are known as our gutters. Let's assume we are designing a website. So let's just change just a little heading right here. We can copy this to create the hero section just below the heading. So the hero section is going to span through this way. Then let's just create in some nice content blocks. Let's train some nice content blocks in this case study. So let's just go in with something like this. Like this. Okay. Then we'll copy. Let's copy like twice, 2 times. Then align. So we have something nice like this. Let's make this hero section a little bit darker. Just like this. This is perfect. So the big question I want to ask here using this case study is that how do we ensure a thorough spacing system throughout our designs? So if you are looking for the answer, I got it. So just chill. The answer to this is that we are going to be introducing a vertical grid layout that allows us to maintain a very consistent spacing system throughout our designs. I'll be deleting all these case studies that we were using here just like this and delete. To create a vertical grid system that allows us to maintain a very consistent spacing system throughout our design, all we have to do is just to hit this plus. What do you notice? It means that we can overlay a layout grid above another layout grid. So that's very much possible in Figma, but it's going to be a very different setting. So in the second one that we chose, we are going to be selecting rows, not columns this time. For the count, I'll be going with 1000. I highly recommend it whenever you are designing for a desktop size, especially when you are selecting a vertical grid system. So we are going to be using 1000 right here. When I press enter, you will notice that the vertical grid system kind of vanishes. Don't be afraid, it's still there. The next thing we are going to be choosing right here as a type to bring out this our vertical grid system is changing this stretch to top. So what do you notice? Our grid system is back. Our vertical grid system is just right there. It didn't go anywhere. For the height, since we are using an 8 grid system, I'll be using 8 as a height here, just like this with your enter. The next thing right here is to change our gutter to 0. What's the reason for that? I don't want to have these spaces above and below this place, just like how we have in this column side. So that's the reason why I'm putting it down to 0, because I don't want spaces above here. Rephrasing back to the imaginary website that we're creating that we kind of deleted because there was no vertical layout grid. So let's see the difference when there's a vertical layout grid in your design. Let's assume I'm bringing out my heading section right here. What do you notice that everything kind of snaps onto the grid? So in this way, to give us an effective way to maintain a very consistent spacing system throughout our design. So this is our heading right here. Let me just take it down to this place. Then let's bring out our hero section just like this. Raise it up and down like this. Let's make it a little bit darker. There's no reason for this though, but let's just make it a little bit darker to differentiate it from the heading. Then a nice content block here. You see everything kind of snaps onto the grid. Let's assume we want to keep a 8 spacing system between this hero section and these content blocks. All we have to do is just to count the lines of this vertical layout grid until it's up to 8. The second hack I want to show you guys is this. Let's assume we are designing on this frame and we want to see our actual design without the layout grid. What's the effective way of hiding this layout grid without deleting it? The shortcut to it is by pressing Shift plus G on your keyboard, and you see that the layout grid is out. And when we press Shift plus G back, you see the layout grid is visible. Since we are done with the preset on how to set up a layout grid in your desktop, we move on to the next. But I know someone is probably wondering, Praise, I want to create my own grid system on the iPad and also on the mobile application. Sorry, iPhone 14, 15 Pro Max. So to do that, or before you do that, I'm going to show you an effective way of which you can transfer this grid system we have already selected right here into this design and also into this design with just a simple hack. The next thing right here is just to select this first grid system we selected here. Hitting down Shift on your keyboard, by pressing Shift on your keyboard, you select the second one right here. You then press Ctrl C or Command C if you are using a MacBook, just like that. Then you select this iPad. Then you hit Ctrl V or Command V on your keyboard. So we have successfully transferred this grid system into this one. But there's always a problem that comes out from every shortcut. What do you notice here? We cannot really use this grid system to design, in the sense that our columns right here are too small. So what caused this kind of issue? The reason was that we used a 12 grid column system for the desktop size, and meanwhile for this iPad we are supposed to use a 8 grid system. Let's just correct that. The only thing we are going to adjust here is for the horizontal grid system, not the vertical. Everything on the vertical side is good to go. So once again, we go back to our grid system where we have our 12 columns right here. So we hit the setting and we are going to be changing these columns to 8, just like that. And everything is back to normal. So we can use this to design and it's good to go. The next thing right here is just to transfer this grid system into this iPhone 14 and 15 Pro Max frame that we have already chosen. Do you like the way I'm calling the full name of this Apple brand? Because I know I have so many people that are using iPhone 14 or 15 on my subscribers. I know we have bosses in the house. But anyway, if you ask me, I will stick to my Samsung. So the next thing right here is just to snap on this grid from this place into this iPhone 14 frame. I will not complete the other one. To do that, same way we did for the desktop, we just select the first grid system, pressing down Shift on our keyboard or holding down Shift on our keyboard. You select the second one just like this. Then hit Ctrl C or Command C on your keyboard to copy. You then select this frame and hit Ctrl V on it to just replicate everything inside it. To make this frame a very comfortable area to design with, all we have to do is just to send it back to a 4 grid system. Because remember, rephrasing, we use 12 grid system for our desktop, 8 grid system for an iPad, and also for this iPhone 14 for the mobile frame we are going to be using a 4 grid system for it, just like that. So press 4 and enter. The next thing we are going to be changing right here that seems really awkward is our margin spaces. To correct that, I'm going to be selecting these margins and changing it down to 35. Many designers use 16, many designers use 20, but I recommend 35 as a good size for me to use. So we are able to achieve 3 things on how to create a responsive layout grid on desktop, an iPad, and also a mobile application. So if we decide now to stretch this, you see that the grid system is responsive to the width of the frame. But if I change this stretch to maybe center and I decide to do this frame just like this, you will see that everything is kind of disorganized. So always use stretch whenever you're selecting a grid system for a desktop and also an iPad and also a mobile application. That's a wrap guys for this video, but that's not all. If you want to learn how to create a responsive design in Figma, do well to check this video right here. If you're my channel for the first time, I would like you to click the subscribe button. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Click the subscribe button to see more of these design videos in the future. So see you guys in the next video.